somebody who studied war, who participated in war, what do you think is the best martial arts for, let's call it self-defense, for hand-to-hand combat outside the constraints of sport?
So it's not one answer. The answer to me is Jiu Jitsu, boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, Judo, Sambo, and on down the list. I definitely start with Jiu Jitsu. The reason I start with Jiu Jitsu is because in a self-defense situation, if you are a big monster human and you want to fight me and you square off with me, guess what I'm going to do? Run away. Because I don't want to get involved. Even if I see skinny little Lex out on the street and you start yelling at me and saying you want to fight me, I don't want to fight you. It doesn't matter. I don't care if I can beat you or not. What if you stab me? What if you sue me after I get done throwing you onto the concrete? There's a million bad things that can happen and almost nothing good. So for self-defense, my first self-defense is my feet to get away from you. And if you square off to punch me, I can run away from you. If you square off to kick me, I can run away from you. If you push me, I can run away from you. So, great. I don't need to know how to box to run away from you. Where this all changes is when you grab me. And now I don't have the option to run away anymore. Now I actually have to know how to get away from your grip. And that's where Jiu Jitsu comes into play. So, especially if you get me on the ground, if you grab me and get me on the ground, now I need to know how to get you off of me and get up and get away from you so I can run away. So that's why I say start with Jiu Jitsu, and from there, boxing, wrestling, Judo, Sambo, Muay Thai.
What have you learned from being a practitioner? You're a black belt. What have you learned from this journey of being a martial artist?
Jiu Jitsu for me was the connective tissue that started to join my mind together with all the different aspects of my life. And so Jiu Jitsu for me was really important. And I don't think I would be doing anything that I'm doing right now if it wasn't for Jiu Jitsu. Wow. So there's various aspects of my life that were in existence, but I didn't understand how they were connected until I started training Jiu Jitsu. The primary things are interacting with other human beings and combat tactics and strategy and Jiu Jitsu. And all those things are connected. They all follow the same guiding principles. And I wouldn't have recognized those guiding principles if I didn't do Jiu Jitsu.
Can you elaborate? Because you've trained for many, many years. What is it? The hardship? Is it the humbling nature of just being tapped all over, nonstop? Or I actually don't know how many times.
I've tapped more times than you.
Okay, so good. Is it just the hardship of physical training, like the honesty of the mat, in the sense that, like, you know what works and what doesn't work? Which aspects were the most impactful for you?
All aspects. So yes, from a humility perspective, when you realize when you think you know what you're doing, when you think you have certain skills, and you realize that there's always somebody better than you, and you realize that, hey, maybe I don't have all the answers all the time. And you bring that to a leadership perspective, and you walk into your platoon and you realize that maybe you don't have all the answers all the time, and maybe you should listen to what other people have to say. You bring that to a combat situation, and you realize that you think, if you sit there and think that you're smarter than the enemy, you're going to be complacent, you're going to make mistakes. So there's one aspect out of the gate. As far as, if I'm going to try and get your arm, do I attack your arm?
Maybe not directly, unless I'm a white belt.
Exactly. What do? I attack your neck, and when you reach up to defend your neck, that's when I get your arm. Well, if I'm out on the battlefield and there's an enemy position, should I attack frontal assault into that position?
No.
No, I shouldn't. I should put down some covering fire, and I should maneuver around to the flank. It's the same thing. If I'm dealing with you and you're my boss, and you've got a giant ego, and you've come up with a plan and I don't like your plan, should I walk up to you and say, hey, Lex, your plan isn't good?
No.
Or should I say, hey, Lex, can I ask you some questions about how you want us to execute this? Because I want to make sure I understand your vision. So all these things are connected.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have realized that we could sit here and do this forever. I could tell you these comparisons forever.
Yeah.
But all this connective tissue, bringing all these things together, I wouldn't have seen it without, I don't think I would have seen it without jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu to me had a incredible life impact on me. Look, the physical part, yes, absolutely. Does it keep you humble when you know that there's a 145-pound individual that can tap you out when you're 220-pound, 25-year-old guy, and there's a 135 or 140-pound, 46-year-old guy that can make you tap out? That's humbling. And what do you do with that? Do you run away from it, or do you continue to pursue it? Same thing with life. Same thing with anything. So jiu-jitsu is an incredibly powerful, not just physical aspect, but it's a way to understand. It's a way of thinking.